Welcome to Deep Thought. It's a great power to rise out of a negative environment. I want y'all to think about that, especially those who are watching this who might have started off life in a less than great circumstances. You know, maybe a financially poor environment, a dysfunctional family, and all of those things. Because understand something. Environment plays a very important part in how we develop. You know, there's always been that argument about nature versus nurture, and it's a combination of both. It is a combination of both. Yes, you're born with certain gifts, certain talents, certain potential for intelligence and all of that. But you have to be in an environment that nurtures it, you know? You might be that person. You might, well, I ain't gonna say you. I'll say there might be a person who, they born with a natal intelligence, natal talents, birth talents, like just it's already in them, where they could become a billionaire from scratch, or they could add some great invention or theory or something to make the world a better place. But they were born into an environment which, first of all, didn't foster education. There's a lot of talk about the poor environments and everything. In fact, recently there's always an argument about IQ between races and all of that. But it's been shown that the IQ, like just say black IQ, you hear some people say, oh, y'all not all of that. But then it's been shown you change the environment, the IQ is improving. So that's very important. But let's get back to that whole natal thing, right? That whole natal thing. What if somebody, they have it naturally, but they're born in an environment where maybe it's a poor environment. Maybe the parents don't buy any books, or they don't encourage like education or something like that. And the child, instead of focusing on the things he or she would need to do to really make that impact in life, they're in an environment where they have to worry more about survival. They have to focus on it. In fact, you have some that's been, I've seen in the communities where somebody might actually have a child in like a negative environment, general environment, but then send the child to live with a relative or something. The elders would say, from the north would say, well, let's send them down south, In fact, I had a woman I was working with, she said one time her and her husband, they had one of her nephews who was generally a bad kid, stay with them for the summer, and he just totally changed up, but it was a different environment. So it's a powerful thing. Understand something. It's like you got to think about where you are. When you talk about the nature versus nurture argument, there's no argument. It's a little bit of both. So with all of that said, it's a great power if you can rise out of a negative environment. Because first of all, when in any environment, it's not even just the economic status or how well the houses are built. It's the people in that environment. You have the people in that environment, they thinking one thing, and you trying to do something else. And let's be real, if you're any person, they expect you to be a part of the herd, the crowd. Anyone who stands out from that, especially in poor environments, negative environments, dysfunctional environments in rich areas. Oh yeah, you can be upper middle class, wealthy, and bringing in plenty of money and look on the surface like you're doing something, but it can still be negative. It can still be negative. So if you can fight all of that, it's a great power. It means, it takes being not so much as talented, but having the willpower to stay all out of the herd. Because one thing with human beings, it's normal to want to be a part of a community. It's normal. It's part of us. We all want to find a community, We all want to find a community. We want to find like-minded people who think generally the same, have the same values and everything. That's one, and I've spoke on that before. That's one of the beautiful things about social media. People have complained about it and say, this is causing all these trouble? But I say, okay, but look at the other side. Now, someone who lives in Seattle, Washington, who might have certain interests that doesn't fit in with those around her, can meet someone or communicate with someone who lives in Miami, Florida, who has the same interests. I want y'all to think about that. Think about it. So, so social media is great. But then to even rise out of that environment, it takes a lot. It's significant. Like anybody who's come from a poor environment and who become a billionaire, it means a lot. I remember I was watching this show, Undercover Billionaire, about this guy, I can't remember his name, but it was the initial episode, and he's a billionaire, a self-made billionaire, but he came out of an alcoholic family. And he was from the DC area, and I say, okay, I had a general idea where he lived. I mean, it was like, not just the environment, the neighborhood, but just his family itself. And for him to do what he did, that was outstanding. That was a great power. Now, of course, you could say, well, was he very intelligent? And well, intelligent enough. But he was able to have the willpower to go against his environment. You had the willpower. That's the key thing. That's the key thing. Because even if you have like talents, no matter what your talents, you still have to have the ability, the will to use it. I want y'all to think about that. And then to go beyond that. And especially, remember what I said. Even though social media has made it easy to find community, we still want that. Human beings are tribal. We want to find like-minded people. But you rising out of an environment where they might not be at. And honestly, even as you rise up, it gets harder and harder. They say that term, "it's lonely at the top," is very appropriate. Because it is. Because let's just be real. How many people are really billionaires, millionaires? How many people on the planet are really satisfied, truly satisfied in their lives? Not even about the money part, but truly happy. Very, very few. So it becomes harder. That's the thing. But it's a great power just to rise above all of that, just in itself. I want y'all to really think about that. Really, really think about that. Because you know how I do on this channel. It's more about thinking, not making definitive statements, but throwing out questions. How about that? So anyway, that's all I have for now. I'll get back with y'all tomorrow. Peace and blessings.